Welcome to the Cowtown Cats Lacrosse Podcast, where we talk all things Panther City Lacrosse Club. Now here are your hosts, Nicholas and Andy.
And then the season begins. Welcome everybody to Cowtown Cats Lacrosse Podcast. Just like that, the 2022-2023 season for Panther City is underway. Once again, I'm Nicholas, joined here by Andy.
Hello.
And as they always say, good things come to those who wait, and we waited all off season, and a good thing came. I mean, the first game of the season, it was a home opener, it was season opener, lots of fans there, lots of people ready for the season to begin, and the good thing that came was in the form of a win right off the bat this year. We didn't have to wait very long for that first win. Today's episode, we're going to talk the first game of the season, talk about kind of our highs and lows. Andy was fortunate enough to be there. I mean, as I mentioned before, we are season ticket holders. Unfortunately, I was out sick and had to miss the first game of the season. So I had to watch from home and then immediately go to bed afterwards. We'll talk about, obviously, the final score, with Panther City winning their first game of the year against Las Vegas Desert Dogs. But I guess we'll start off with just kind of the start of the game and get some ideas on what happened and our thoughts on what happened and the highs and lows. So, obviously, I'll ask you first. You were there live. You were there in person. What was your feeling as far as, the hype up into the game and the start of the game and just kind of the feeling in the building there when you got started?
No, it was great. Even starting with the player introductions. I think you probably remember from last year how they've got people running out of the tunnel yelling their name, and then they've got the little, I don't know if you call it a flamethrower or something, kind of shooting fire up into the air.
Right.
Yeah, that really helped people get pumped up. And yeah, it was just fun to be in that environment
always a good
again.
atmosphere. Yeah, I mean, it's always something that helps get everybody going.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I didn't know if they were going to do that again this year.
Oh yes, it was. You could feel the heat from where we were sitting for sure.
Awesome. Well, the heat. We were hoping the heat would start right off the bat for us, especially against this expansion team. But the first quarter started, and 20 seconds in, unfortunately, Las Vegas scored the first goal of the game. I have to ask, do you feel like it kind of took the wind out of our sails for a quick second there?
It was a bit of a shock. I know this was the first box lacrosse game that I had taken my wife to, and so just seeing Las Vegas win the face-off, which we'll kind of go into face-offs later on in this, but seeing them win that, march right down the field and get it past Damien, it was kind of eye-opening, like, oh shoot, that's right, yeah, the other team's going to score a few times in this too. So, but thankfully, less than a minute later, we were able to exact some quick revenge, and I think from there we had the lead for most of the game. But yeah, right off the bat, it was kind of like, okay, let's get those jitters out. Let's kind of relax and play our game the way we know how.
Right, and so yeah, I mean, it was an interesting and unfortunate way to start the game for us. Yeah, so everything got started for us when Will Malcolm actually scored the first goal of the game. His teammates actually voted him as the one who would start the season off with a goal.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that definitely happened. And honestly, for Malcolm, the first game of the year was a big game of the year for him, and we'll get into it a little bit further on. I did want to mention, before we got too far into it, the one disappointing thing I saw from Panther City right from the start, and it kind of made me not irritated, but like, oh man, kind of upset, was seeing Coach Tracy Koluski, Coach TK, trim his beard and mustache. The beard that he grew in the off season was completely gone. It was back to his short beard and mustache from last year. I was sadly disappointed.
Well,
anyway,
maybe he figures out. All right, it's business
right. Yeah,
time.
that was side. But I think the first few things I noticed, especially in the first quarter, was it felt rushed. We felt anxious to get everything going, and that made us have a lot of mistakes, a lot of turnovers early on. People weren't handling the ball as well as they should have, or either like
Mhm.
turn it over really easily. And even, I hate to say it, but even our face-offs weren't very good. So I saw that number 93 Burton is taking the face-offs right now. I think
Yes.
he took the face-offs for the entire game, and unfortunately, he kind of struggled. And it just kind of goes back to the off season that we were talking about earlier. Yeah, they're kind of missing Jeremy Thompson, I think.
Yeah, he definitely would have helped out in that regard because it wasn't just like we lost few here and there, but it really became kind of one-sided. And of course, when you lose a face-off, then it makes it harder to get back and play defense, trying to get your players switched out when you can and everything.
Hmm.
And that we were lucky in the sense that Las Vegas later on in the game did have their own troubles being careless with the ball and a bit sloppy on their passes. But yeah, starting out in the first quarter, it definitely seemed like we had some off-season jitters carrying over.
Thankfully, I think it kind of calmed down as the game went on. But the good high note I do have from the first quarter, though, two power plays in the first quarter, and we went two
Yes.
for two. We scored on both of them. I mean, you can't ask for anything more, especially on power plays. You just have to ask for them to fight hard and get those points when they matter.
Yes, and that first power play goal, I remember, you probably remember this too. It took quite a while for them to figure out whether it was a goal or not, since Phil Caputo scored pretty close to the goal, and while it was happening, there was a bunch of movement
Hmm.
with Las Vegas's goalie and kind of moving the goal around, but eventually the refs decided that yeah, this counts, and so
Yeah.
that gave us our first lead.
Yeah, and I remember because I texted you during that because I was like, man, this is taking forever. And pretty much they were trying to figure out, okay, does the ball go in? Is his foot on the line at all? And then also, does it go past the point to be considered a goal before the goal itself moves?
Right. Hmm.
And so, yeah, I think that's what took the longest because they weren't 100% sure, and they had to do like almost a frame by frame breakdown to see, if it counted, and it did. And so that was, obviously good in our favor. But
Yeah.
we ended the first ahead 4-3, which is again a good close game, closer than some people probably thought. And then, right into the second quarter, it was like all those jitters kind of went away for a little bit because we went on a 4-0 run. Next
Hmm.
thing you know,
Yeah.
we're just kind of like scoring left and right. It kind of I think helped the team kind of calm back down, say, okay, hey, it's the first game of the season, but that doesn't mean it has to be our worst game.
Right.
But yeah, went on a 4-0 run. I can't remember who all scored in that run. I believe I want to say
So
Malcolm did
So
again.
yeah, Malcolm started off near the end of the first quarter. Malcolm scored on a power play. Caputo and the rookie Jonathan Donville were the guys that assisted.
Wow.
Next, Grennan finished off the first quarter with a goal of his own, and I remember that one because right after he slung the ball towards the net, a defender like pushed him, and he
Oh
kind
yeah.
of like coolly did a little like smooth somersault or backwards flip as he was getting pushed, probably because he was watching it go in as he was falling to the ground or something.
Right. He
So,
knew what was happening.
mhm, yeah. And then once the second quarter started, about 3.5 minutes in, we actually got goals from two defensemen in a row, which is pretty nice. Liam Patton on one of the power plays,
Okay.
since I don't remember who was in the penalty box, but yeah, he was able to knock it in. And then later on, the other Liam Burns got a nice shot in there as well. And so it's always nice to see the defenseman get in on the action from time to time.
Right. And again, it goes back to making sure it's a good encompassing. I mean, almost have to have balance on both sides, and this really showed in the second quarter because not only did you have the defense playing good going on this 4-0 run, but you also had the offense kind of clicking and everything was kind of, getting together then. Unfortunately, it was getting together a little bit more for Vegas too, as they kind of stormed back, and they ended up tying it at 6-6 with a minute 12 before half, and then ended on a goal from us and a goal from them in the last minute, and ended at a 7-7 tie at halftime. Again, I mean, you were there. Kind of what was the feeling like after the first half?
It was nice and compelling. Like obviously you kind of want hope for a Panther City blowout in the sense
Hmm.
that okay, that's a sure victory, but it sure was thrilling to watch. And yeah, the Desert Dogs activity level, I think activity level and cohesion probably threw a bunch of people off. There was I know Jack Hanna scored 2 goals in a row for them, and he was one of the really active players that I remember from that game.
Well, even on TV, so I guess the benefit of me watching it on TV was I heard a lot of their insight too, and they pointed out, yeah, I mean, Las Vegas, they were doing a lot of half court, almost half court pressure.
Hmm.
It's like Panther City got across half court or half field, and they were on top of them. They were trying to get turnovers. They were trying to, force them to make mistakes. And they honestly they did it throughout the game because even
Hmm.
into the third and fourth quarter they did that. So it was a struggle. And again, I don't think Panther City thought they would be tied with them at halftime. But you never know what's going to happen in any sport. So at halftime, I was kind of thinking to myself, okay, this almost kind of reminds me of
Yeah,
Panther
yeah.
City's first game last year.
It felt very familiar for me last year as well. The two I went to, I'm like, okay, well, hopefully this third quarter is key to
Right.
to weather the storm.
Well, and I mean, the third quarter started, and again, Vegas started that half. I'm just gonna call it half court pressure because that's the only thing that keeps ringing in my head. But yeah, half court pressure pretty much, and was turning, making it a tough game for Panther City to get back in a groove again. Thankfully, it kind of even backed out. Will Malcolm got another goal, I believe, in the third quarter. That was, gosh, 4 goals so far in that game. He
Yeah,
was
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
hitting a good streak.
He had two. He opened the third quarter actually. He had two within basically a 2 minute span, and so the offense was really clicking at that point, and he was really became more aggressive. Like he scored in the first half as well, but during the second, you could tell that they really became a more aggressive team.
Right. And even the defense kind of settled down then because as we pointed out, 7 points in the first, 2 quarters. In the third quarter, they only allowed 2 points.
Right.
And it's like, hey, because we knew the defense was good. Obviously coming from last year where, the defense was able to, have that run we talked about and keep competitive with a lot of teams that they were, a lot of people didn't think they would be competitive with. We kind of expected that defense to be kind of on top of things this year, and they really showed up in the third quarter, which was really good. And then also in the third quarter, I put in there, Caputo, he scored, he got a hat trick, right off the
Right.
bat for the first game of the season. So it really kind of showed. It goes to Coach TK again. I think bringing them in at halftime, saying, "Hey, first game of the season, we also just need to kind of settle down, get back to basics, get back to what we're good at." I also have history was made. So quick side note: history was made during the third quarter when we had our first ever fight
Oh
in Dickies
yes, yeah,
Arena.
yeah. Oh, there were none last year. I did not
There
realize
there
that.
was none at home. They had them
Gotcha.
at away games,
Hmm.
but never at Dickies Arena. So it was almost like they decided to initiate Dickies Arena this year right off the bat. They're like, "Hey, let's get a fight." And honestly, I can't remember who was in the fight.
So it was Nate Wade, and I don't remember who the Vegas player was, but I remember it honestly came out of nowhere because they were they were just about to. It was like right after a face off,
Yeah, it was
in the
right
middle
after a
of a face
face-off.
off, and then like because I remember just seeing some motion out of my like a lot of activity out of my peripheral vision, and then you hear people hooting and hollering and see the fist swinging and
Right.
everything, and so
Well,
yeah,
and
that
and,
that was pretty trippy.
and it was funny too because after it happened and the refs finally stepped in and separated them, they like gave each other a pat. They're like,
Yeah, yeah,
"Yeah,
they like dap each other up, and I don't know whether I haven't seen enough fights in box lacrosse to feel like, okay, is that the kind of like olive branch that they do afterwards? Like, okay, we kind of
Right.
resolved our differences,
Well,
if you will.
and in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, it's kind of like they both acknowledge, okay, well, the refs are breaking it up, so hey, good fight
Hmm.
for 2 seconds, but whatever.
Hmm.
But they let him go at it for a good amount of time, so hey,
Yeah.
history in its own way being made at Dickies Arena. But yeah, at
Hmm.
the end of the third quarter, I mean, it was 13-9. We were riding high, and then the fourth quarter happened, and the fourth quarter was just kind of, I think, weird. We did allow them to score 2 more points, but it was just weird, I guess, from watching it at home because they scored 0 points in the
Yeah.
fourth quarter.
I felt like I don't know that we necessarily lost aggression, but I did get the sense that we were kind of trying to maintain the lead more than build it necessarily. Granted, Las Vegas did do a goalie substitution, and their substitute goalie, they yeah, we didn't score a single point on him, so obviously his save percentage beat their starter.
Right. And yeah, they switched him out towards the end of the third quarter, I want to say, and it was like the end of the third quarter and all through the fourth. He didn't allow one goal.
Hmm.
But yeah, unfortunately Vegas offense didn't do enough to catch up. They ended 13-11 was the final score. Again, like I said earlier, just feels like it felt like Panther City's first game where,
Hmm.
close game, and then the team that was supposed to win ends up winning at the end. And
Hmm.
so, again, I
Yeah, that's
wasn't
the most
there.
important thing.
Well, right. That winning, everything else, at the end of the day, doesn't matter. If you won the game, that's all that matters. But again, I wasn't there. So obviously getting that first home win, how did it feel being there?
It was awesome. Yeah, it was a whole lot of fun, and just seeing the when I was watching the replay on TV, knowing that Las Vegas was in the same position that we were in last year, where we kind of had like, I guess you could say, unexpected success with Coach TK winning Coach of the Year and us being in the playoff hunt near the end. We're like, okay, that was all great for us. We don't want the Desert Dogs to replicate that against us in
Right.
our home opener.
Well,
And
yeah,
so,
you definitely don't. Like I said, it felt weird, especially with that first goal within the first 20 seconds. You're like, here's this new team. We're hyped for the new season, and they scored.
mhm, yeah. But at the same time, it was great to see predominantly familiar faces. Phil Caputo, I know he's been one of my favorite players since last year, and he's always so great scoring around the goal. I think at least two of his goals, if not all three of them, were real close to the back line or the goal itself. And he gets a pretty acrobatic when he's down there. He did I know at one point the opposing goalie did fall onto his leg along with
Oof.
the goal. So I know he was uh kind of gingerly walking around later on in the game. So hopefully he's good for the next one. And then seeing John Donville for the first time was nice as well. I know during power plays they had him kind of running the offense from the top. He didn't score any goals, but he did get a few assists. And so,
Yeah, and after that game, or even before that, right before that game, some analysts were saying to keep an eye on him as far as his season to see how he's going to help out this team. So he'll definitely be. And he is considered a rookie. He is one of the players that did go back to college to make up his COVID year. Donville was. They're definitely going to, obviously consider him a rookie this year. So it'll be interesting to see if he makes a similar run like Dodds did last year, where you have
right.
this rookie that comes in and kind of shows what's up.
Yeah, it is great to have that nice young tandem of players between Donville, Brennan, Dodds, and also kind of supplement that with veterans like Caputo, who we've mentioned, Chad Cummings on defense, and as team captain. So yeah, it's a nice mix of young and new,
Yeah, oh, for sure, for
or
sure.
yeah, young and old.
Well,
Older. I shouldn't say old.
yeah, well, not old, but just I don't want to say
Vets. Yeah.
seasoned either.
Yeah. Wily veterans. We'll go
There
with
you
that.
go. There you go. Well, I mean, ending in a win. I mean, it was great. I think it's a good start for the team. It's a good start for the season. So with our first, I guess you could call this our first segment. We're gonna try and do a few different segments per game. And for our first one, we're gonna do the Cool Cat play of the game. For you, I mean, what was your favorite play of the game that you saw live there?
There was one transition goal. I don't remember whether it was Caputo or Josh Medeiros, where they basically dove towards the Desert Dogs goalie and slipped one in over their shoulder really quick. It was great to see live.
For me, I mentioned it before. Nathan Grinnan is my man, and any chance to see him in action. In fact,
Right.
I have the highlight running right now of him making that goal, and I'm seeing that back somersault that he did afterwards, and it's just the attitude and the scrappiness of him. But yeah, him making that goal and pretty much with a defender like almost two defenders right in his face and just shoves him to the side after he makes it.
Right.
It's just like, yeah, that's my man. So yeah, that's definitely my play of the game. And then yeah, we'll just call it our Big Cat player of the game. I mean, for you, who was your highlight player of this game for the first game of the season?
Will Malcolm stood out the most because he led or tied the lead in goals and got a few assists as well, setting his teammates up. So in some ways, he was almost like a one man show on offense, getting others involved and then applying pressure on the goalie himself as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think everybody pretty much had Malcolm as their player of the game for this week. I'm definitely gonna, what Malcolm's obviously gonna be player of the game, contention for player of the game pretty much every week. For me, Caputo, I mean, getting a hat trick right off the bat and helping that team. I mean, between him and Malcolm, 7 points combined. I mean, you really can't go wrong with that. So for
Hmm.
me, yeah, Phil Caputo, hats off to you, man, literally and and in game. So yeah, no, he had a really good night as well. So
Hmm.
I will have to say I did not know this, and this is a little off subject, but not totally off subject. I also learned that Will Malcolm has a brother, and that
He sure
brother
does.
plays for Panther City now.
Yep. Anthony or Tony Malcolm.
Yeah, yeah. And so, we were talking about Jeremy Thompson going to work, play for Georgia to play with his brother, and now we have the Malcolm brothers in Panther City. So,
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny you mentioned that because you wouldn't have seen this because I don't think they showed it on TV. But one of the during the timeouts, one of the videos that they played on the Jumbotron was Malcolm versus Malcolm, and it was Will and Tony playing Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
oh my gosh.
And I want to say Tony won, whichever one was the red robot one, I think. But it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to those because I hope that's something that they do throughout the season as well. So,
Hmm.
well, that is definitely our rundown of game number one. It was a win for everybody, a win for Panther City. I think, like I said before, it was a good way to start the season. It's a good way to get the team going. Hopefully, it's a view of things to come for the season. So,
And for anyone who hasn't made it out to a game yet, we highly recommend it. Dickies Arena is a great place to see it play. The food's great there too. We went ahead and got a pretzel while we were watching it.
nice, nice.
Even little things like the halftime entertainment was awesome. There was someone doing she had three dogs and was doing like dog tricks. They called it like the
Yes.
dog carnival or something.
Hey,
So,
halftime entertainment, you can't go. And also, quick shout out to Panther City Lacrosse dance team. They're brand new. This is their first season. They had
yeah.
tryouts in the off season, so it's good to see that group is coming together and getting action out there with the team. So
Yeah, they did a great job pumping up the crowd, along with Prowler. Prowler was walking around. He gave me a high five. I tried to take a picture in time, but couldn't quite snap it.
Oh, Prowler. Yes, I know. And we got a few pictures with him last year, so I'm hoping to get some more snaps in this year. But well, cool. Game number 1 is in the books. Coming up on our next episode, we'll do a quick rundown of our upcoming games number 2 and number 3. Unfortunately, we get 2 games in one weekend, so it'll be interesting to kind of go through those. We'll just do a quick rundown, talk about their opponents, kind of what we want to see and our expectations for those games. But well, once again, thank you for joining us. This is the Cowtown Cats Lacrosse podcast. I am Nicholas.
And I am Andrew.
Andrew, and thank you guys for joining us. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Thanks. See y'all.